spoke with Link Jarrett earlier this afternoon, and it should be a good time for you to listen to that interview as we get very, very close to opening day this Friday, 5 o'clock, Dick Howser Stadium, Mike Martin Field. James Madison comes into town, and the Link Jarrett era begins. Talk to him today about that. You'll hear that and much more in regards to expectations, the lineup, the rotation, lengthening that bullpen, roles for those players, and projections as far as starters go. So a good time to talk to Link. I can only imagine just how exhilarating it is for him as a guy that grew up in this community, a guy that obviously went to school here. I'm talking about all the way through high school, and then went on to play for his hometown team at Florida State, where he became an All-American, and then went on the path to become a coach at various stops, the last of which was Notre Dame, where we all watched Notre Dame go to the College World Series last year via the victory over Tennessee in Knoxville in that super regional. Tennessee was the 1 seed, ratcheting up expectations and the possibility of what could happen for Florida State if they were to be able to procure his services as coach, as they made the decision to move on from Mike Martin Jr. He was the candidate, the guy. I think most would say that one of the reasons they made the decision to move on was the thought that now had to be the time, or else Link Jarrett would be getting and receiving other offers that would be lucrative and certainly of a higher stature than that of Notre Dame. That is not an all-time great bastion of baseball there at Notre Dame. They don't sink a ton of money into that program at all, and the facilities were lacking. So Link would probably have moved on somewhere else. I think the thinking of the athletic director here, Mike Alford, who, by the way, we should probably have a more in-depth discussion about, Tom, Mike Alford, that is, whose tenure here at Florida State is off to a grand start. He has become embraced by the Florida State community, and I think celebrated early on in his time here. Doesn't take much to trip that up, but it certainly is hard to screw it up in the beginning and then get back on the right foot. So it's good that he has started well. It is good that he has made splash hires, successful hires, celebrated hires up to this point, and he's got an awful lot on his plate right now, because there will be a decision that has to be made with basketball in the near future as well. So the job just keeps getting tougher, but so far he has been able to hit home runs. Sorry for the pun, given that opening day is on Friday and the Link Jarrett interview is today. But this was a no-brainer hire for Michael Alford, and Link said yes, and what an opportunity. I remember we were all nervous as Notre Dame was succeeding and knocking off the very, very easily despised Tennessee Volunteer baseball team, and that group of, performance-enhanced individuals that whose personalities were tough to wrap your arms around. And by doing so, the thought was, well, oh no, now Notre Dame will pony up. Maybe he won't leave. No, I think this is Link Jarrett's dream job. I think there's no doubt. How could it not be? Given, again, the fact that he played here, grew up here, was an All-American here. This is where he wanted to coach. I asked him about that. I asked him what it's like to be the head man now in his first opening day here as a coach. They're not devoid of talent over there. They are awfully young. I think they have a grand total of 17 freshmen, many of whom will be asked to contribute on this year's team significantly. One of those freshmen is, a very high-profile kid that nobody who cares about the state of baseball around here, hasn't heard of. I mean, the expectations for him is that he could be a star. So I'm pumped. I'm pumped. I haven't been this excited for a baseball season in some time. New blood often does that, even if you're not saying something negative about the past group. When something's been passed on, I mean, the Martins have run this for a very, very long time. That is not I'm not besmirching the name or slighting the accomplishments of the Martins. I'm saying that sometimes just a new set of eyes and fresh blood is exciting for everybody involved. That includes legendary coaches, the football program, or any other for that matter. Sometimes you need that. You need to turn that over. It's funny, the philosophies in America about coaching compared to internationally when you think of soccer, are very, very different. And it's funny, if you ever speak to somebody from other countries about the way they view their sportsmen and their coaches, it is very, very different than the way Americans view coaches. We have many instances in which coaches are allowed to be at a singular place for 20, 30, 40 years. Doesn't really happen across the pond and too many other places. They get bored quick. They may be too quick to fire guys. We may be too quick to give guys a reprieve. It always cracks me up. I remember an Australian one time was at a party at FSU, and they're like, wait a minute, your head coach, we're talking about Bobby Bowden, has been here for 30 years? And I go, yeah. He goes, well, that's ridiculous. Should have fired him years ago. I go, you don't know anything about him. He's won a lot. They're like, nobody should be a head coach anywhere for 30 years. That's dumb. I started cracking up laughing, and it wasn't much longer that Steve Spurrier agreed and said, yeah, nobody should be a head coach at the same place for more than 10 years.
I think what we're seeing with baseball as well as the athletic department, there's a parallel course. That there's new blood, there's fresh blood, and that there seems to be a plan in place that makes us Noles feel a lot easier about the direction of said program or said athletic department. Because Michael Alford represents the money's in the right place, the votes are in the right place, that you don't have to go walking over to the boosters hat in hand to see how things need to be done or what their opinion on the matter is. And then what Link Jarrett provides as well is from the top down legitimacy from somewhere else. And that was the number one thing. The number one knock on Meat was, couldn't he have gone somewhere else? And unfortunately for Mike Martin Jr., his name prohibited him from having some opportunities at other programs around the country. So what Link brings is experience from another place. What the athletic department represents now, the new board of trustees, is we have our ducks in a row from that point all the way through the athletic programs themselves and even into the NIL world. Florida State is in a much healthier place than it was 2 or 3 years ago. It's just true.
Well, I think modernizing and adapting what is commonplace throughout the collegiate model, which is to have your booster organization insulated, in a way that is much different than what we had before, which is kind of running the show, is a better model and will be more successful, more modernized. I mean, obviously, it's hard to argue with the previous model for the successes Florida State had, all the while doing so with less. Is very, very impressive. Always will be. But it was time to move on there.
Well, and also a lot of that model worked in the 90s and worked for some parts of the 2000s. But in modern times, just look at football, for example, you can't assume that the best 20 players in the state of Florida are going to stay in the state of Florida to go play football. It's not the case anymore. So you have to adapt with the times, and the athletic department model that got us to where we were. It was more than useful in terms of that athletic department, and the booster model being started from the ground up. That got us to where we needed to go to have 14 straight years as a football program in the top 4, to be dominant in the late 80s and early 90s in the Big 3. And for Mike Martin, beyond that. But for the basketball program, baseball and football, there was that golden era of about 5 years.
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah.
It got us there. But, times change, and that was 30 years ago.
You brought up something that is absolutely true. And, wherever anybody stands on the arguments as far as Martin Jr. for or against when he got hired and the departure and all those other things, one thing is true, and I always felt bad about it for Jr. because he tried to leave, and he was a finalist for several jobs, and he couldn't get the job because those other programs thought he would leave the second he could to come back to Florida State. So, therefore, he didn't get the opportunities that Link Jarrett did, in the sense that Link had to go to Flagler and be an assistant coach. He had to go, from there, brief stint as an assistant here. Then he's at Mercer. From there it's East Carolina. Then it's Auburn. And then he's a head coach at UNC Greensboro. And then from UNC Greensboro, he goes to Notre Dame with that huge opportunity and makes the most of it. And when you go back, if you look at it, he's an assistant coach of the year in 2009. He is a Southern Conference coach of the year in 2016 and 2018. He is an assistant coach of the year in the SEC in 2010. 2017, they win the Southern Conference championship. They win the regular season title in the Southern Conference in 2018. So he's making his way on up. Then he goes to Notre Dame. He's ACC coach of the year last year. He has all these different things, right? But also he's at different parts of the country where you have to do things different ways, different calibers of program with different levels of funding, different facilities, different types of fans. what kind of player you could bring to that program as opposed to another. Very different at Auburn than it is at Greensboro than it is at Notre Dame. Having to adapt, learn from, and grow a program along the way as far down on the rung of the ladder, if you will, as Flagler, no offense, Flagler, and as high up as now Florida State, but previously Notre Dame, I think affords you the life experience, but also the professional experience necessary to really be able to come into a job like this and have success early. There really is no substitute for that kind of experience. And I think that's critical in these early years for him. I do believe Florida State will quickly hit the ground running and perform well. This year will be interesting. It is year one. Year ones are always interesting. They're very hard to project, especially with as much roster turnover as this group has had, and there being a reliance on some young players. You don't really know, but I would predict success pretty quickly at Florida State for Link Jarrett, and this year is a distinct possibility of them having great success as well, despite not being ranked in the preseason, which is also nice to come in with very little expectations. Now, there are a lot of high expectations here in Tallahassee, and I'm sure he has high expectations, as he should. But in the world of college baseball, and it's a niche world, Florida State's not expected to be very good. Okay, well, that'll be fascinating. It'll be fun because normally they are. Even in down years, they're projected top 15, top 10. This would be a year where there are very minimal expectations.
The thing I'd say is, yeah, I'm one of those who has high expectations here on the local side. There's a lot of talent to be spread around this roster, but that's not going to come without bumps in the road early on, either for young players or experienced
Sure.
players. I think, when you bring in a new system and there's a new way of doing things in a new order, you can simulate that all you want in terms of your weekend roles in the rotation or the platoons that you want to implement or the position changes that you might have implemented in the field defensively. There's going to be bumps in the road where they don't look real good or real clean. Or dare I say at times, what the hell was coach thinking? I think those moments are coming in the first month of the season at minimum. How could they not be? This is an overhaul. And sometimes things need to get a little worse before they get better. But I think that can all happen in the course of this baseball season. I don't think this is a multi-year
within
project.
a singular season. Yeah, it could be a lot in the way of emotions, up and down. Great weekend series where they overachieve based on projections, and weekend series where they're figuring out roles and they underachieve and lose a series that they're not supposed to, and people, maybe panic. Although baseball teaches a lot of lessons. One of those is patience and never to overreact, because the best teams in the league lose to the worst teams in the league all the time in a sport like baseball. So, and vice versa. So you do realize that any singular result over the weekend is not really necessarily an indicator of what this team will be. I am curious to see how they play this weekend. Opening weekend is always interesting to see how people handle the nerves. You'll be told this interview that you'll hear in the 2:00 hour. That is next hour. We'll play that interview. You'll hear who the starter is going to be, and you'll hear the reasoning behind it. And really, I thought Link did a very good job in this interview of laying bare his philosophy, what they're attempting to accomplish with these moves. It is not just sort of willy-nilly. You can see the way that he views the game. By the way, very modern. We've come a long way in baseball, and college baseball in particular, where it more mirrors the professional game and the way that it's managed these days, thankfully. One of the things that I like about that, and for years, those that were fans of the advanced metrics, as they were originally called, they would tell you that the leverage situations matter no matter when they happen. High leverage situations happen throughout the course of a baseball game. It may happen in the 4th inning, not the 9th inning. If you've got a guy who can miss bats frequently and you're in a jam in a 2-2 game in the 5th, maybe the time to bring that guy in now with runners at first and second and nobody out, as opposed to just waiting to bring him in because of tradition in the 9th. I do like that. It sounds like we're moving in that direction. Finally,
it's a hell of a lot easier to do in college than in the pros, though, because in the pros, saves equal dollars, for the agents.
Although that's beginning to change too.
It is, but that's going to be at a slower rate. In college, you could be a hell of a lot more aggressive with it. I also can I say, I thought the previous hire was going to work because Meat was holding this thing together with duct tape and Band-Aids.
Yeah.
Like it would have been a hell of a lot worse had he not been on the staff for his father for the last 6 to 8 years. I mean, and at the end, I think it's a broad period of time, but I am greatly refreshed by the fact that we don't have to have the same bleeping argument about the last name of the head coach relative to bringing home the big prize. We can advance the discussion to a different place with FSU baseball.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
So I think everybody's kind of relieved by that too, to varying degrees, obviously, depending on where you stand. But I think that's true. I think it is refreshing. It's hard to get around that. I also think that it helps that part of that refreshing discussion and attitude involves one of your own, though. You did. I'm not always one of these guys who thinks that you have to hire people from your own coaching tree or from your own university. In fact, it's silly how often you hear people say, "Well, he's not a North Carolina guy. He's not a whatever." Who cares? Is he a good coach? Let's bring him in. It didn't always have to be, and we've seen that now. I mean, Mike Norvell, obviously, he's doing quite well. But it is nice when the candidate who's best suited for the job and is the top candidate in the market happens to be one of your own and grew up here and whose family still lives here and who played here and gets Florida State baseball, the culture and the passion. Very few places around the country have as much passion for college baseball as Florida State. There are some, but very few. So it is nice to know that you got a guy walking into a situation who's fully prepared, embraces it, and loves it, and can't wait to be a part of it again. And he'll embark on that this Friday, 5 o'clock. Next hour, that interview will be heard here on the Jeff Cameron Show, so you'll want to stick around for that. By the way, Bill Connolly writes today, with 2023 recruiting in the rearview mirror, transfer portal movement quiet for now, the initial SP Plus projections that he released last week into the wild, as he says, now's a good time as any to set some standards for the teams that conventional wisdom tells us will have the highest standards this fall for each of the teams in the way too early top 25 projections. And you can imagine there's a write-up involving our very own Florida State, and the lofty expectations are addressed that we have, and the reality of that, at least based on some of those numbers and ceilings and floors. And that's coming up next. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Since 1945.
Experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best, like Widden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Widden Glass, and they provide precise installation.
Widden Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass. Online at widdenglass.com. Call 850-222-5781.
To call away. 222-7722. Heating and cooling is the job we do. Parker Services. Conferences to call away.
Invest in a Peak Performance membership and you'll buy peace of mind in knowing that you're extending the life of your system and probably saving money on your power bill too. The program includes comprehensive tune-ups that keep your system running at its maximum efficiency. And Peak Performance members get many benefits, including priority service. Members jump to the front of the line when their comfort system fails. And a 15% discount on all parts. The Peak Performance membership pays for itself over and over again. Call today and have peace of mind. Florida license number CMC 050334.
Parker Services. Conferences to call away. Parker Services. Conferences to call away.
98.3 Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Twitter at Jake Cameron Show, Warchant TV, and Warchant.com for today's show. And of course, while we do it live, and then of course the interview as well with Link Jarrett. I mentioned before the break, college football way too early, top 25, the aftermath of football in the rear view, and write-up score with the way too early selections. Bill Connolly does his SP Plus rankings, already laid those out earlier in the week, decided to circle back around and take a look at floorings. Floorings? No, we're not going to look at floorings. Ceilings and floors for teams. And guess where Florida State is on this list? Georgia's number one. You might expect that, even with the fact that they're going to have to replace their starting quarterback. Ohio State's number two. Michigan number three. Florida State is fourth, head of Alabama.
That's uncomfortable. I saw the look in your eye as well.
It's kind of fun, right? Biggest variable. Well, here you go. Ceiling 11-1. Floor 8-4. The initial SP Plus rankings different than these rankings. Yeah. That would be 11th preseason, whereas Alabama's is 4th.
Which that felt a little weak. Like not Alabama's ranking, but 11th? 11th.
Well,
come on now.
Remember, SP Plus, it takes some time. You have to add.
So, hurry up, SP Plus.
You have to add.
Let's get going.
It takes a couple of years in a row where you are productive in the recruiting world, the on-the-field world, not just a singular season.
It's also got to account for transfer portal. Come on, SP Plus.
It is.
The portal. Make that the P and SP.
Biggest variable, expectations. Quote, now we get to the teams in the 11-1 to 8-4 or 7-5 range. After finishing the season on a 6-game winning streak and leading the nation in returning production, the Noles are all but guaranteed to start the season in the AP top 10 for the first time since 2017. That they're projected only 11th in SP Plus says they may not have the overall roster that the other contenders do. However, they still face trips against Clemson and Florida, a game versus LSU and Orlando, and likely home run swings from all the others. Yeah, well, the fact that they'll be the hunted now is certainly self-evident. We've talked a little bit about that. I don't worry about that. I don't care about that. I mean, if you're good, you understand that people want to beat you. Good teams experience that every week. That's just part of the maturation of a good team. You go from not being a good team to being a good team. And I'll tell you this, that the hard work that it takes from going to from being a bad team to be a good team, just because expectations are thrown upon you and you're getting everybody's best shot doesn't mean you're about to lay down initially, because you like the feeling of being good and you like the feeling of beating people's asses. Beats the hell out of the alternative. It's as simple as that. The second you get a taste for it, a little bit like blood, and you're a wild animal. I mean, the sport is ruthless. It's a good feeling. You want more of that. You want more of the conquering, and I don't think anybody worries about those expectations. The noise that comes with those expectations is a different subject matter, as opposed to facing everybody's best shot on the field. The guy across from you desperately wanting to beat you because you're of significance, a name, is a very different set of expectations and what you're dealing with, as opposed to the noise that comes with national conversation.
Yeah, that's true. The thing I'd say is there are certain teams that have expectations that are this high that are more finesse based. And then there are some that have power and toughness, but mental toughness counts for a lot too. And that's where I think actually we're in pretty good shape. As you think about Jordan Travis and what he did against Florida and how he had to win the game totally by himself.
So that's interesting that Mike is doing it again, but I'm glad it's doing it because we now have somebody here who can try to fix this mic as it's happening while we're alive. And I know where you were going with that. I do think we're equipped to handle this without question. You have a veteran-laden club. You have Jordan Travis, who's already overcome a ton in his own right. You have veteran players, even the ones in which they were on the field for you a year ago. They were not the guys that you necessarily grew with, but they are transfer portal players that have played a lot of football. So they'll come into with a veteran's presence again. See if you can, on the fly, replicate the muddled sounds we just heard.
All right.
There it is.
There you go.
Got it. And with that, we go to commercial break. You got to like the behind-the-scenes glimpse. There it is from behind the curtain. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
Florida A&M University has announced they are increasing on-campus housing after taking ownership of an apartment complex in Tallahassee. The property they acquired is currently known as City View at Railroad Square. It is a 116-unit apartment complex located near the roundabout at FAMU Way and Railroad Avenue. FAMU administrators say about half of the apartment complex is already made up of FAMU students. Residents who are not students will have to move out once their lease is up this summer. This is the second building the university has bought in the area. Back in October, FAMU purchased the Brooklyn Yard apartment complex down the street, which added 118 new beds. After CVS announced the closure of their Southside location, Bond Community Health Center is making sure people will still have access to a pharmacy. Bond will soon be opening their own drive-through pharmacy off South Monroe Street. In the meantime, patients can get their prescriptions through curbside pickup going inside the center, or they can have it mailed to their home. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MaclemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Mainly cloudy skies this afternoon with a high of 76. Southerly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Cloudy skies expected tonight. Lows dip down to about 58. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun tomorrow. Highs around 78. Chance for scattered storms Friday with highs in the low 70s. Bright sunshine Saturday. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 73.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. My man, Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the third one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, you know, bears have their own space.
Well,
you got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears, is what you're saying. I got a
Yes.
question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, I don't know, longevity time, a mouse.
Just a slow burn.
Slow little burn.
This thing just finished the pinking. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay,
You know?
mouse it is. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Hey, Matt.
Yes, Greg?
You know all the different ways that you can listen to Real Talk 93.3?
There are several.
So we've got realtalk93.com. You can go back and listen to all of our shows in the podcast section.
That's right. You can also listen on our app as well.
Search Real Talk 93.3 and look for the red microphone and download our app. Never go anywhere without us.
And of course, you can always listen.
If they're hearing this commercial, then they're listening.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3. Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at Orange Theory Fitness.
Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Michael Jordan will turn 60. And that's remarkable to me and makes me feel old. My wife and I were having a conversation the other day, and the indicators that you're getting old are when your contemporaries are old and you realize, oh, that's me. The people that you watched who are maybe just a tick older than you, but look like kids when you first discovered them, be it musicians or athletes or writers, actors, you name it. people in the public eye. Then all of a sudden they look old. The latest Tiger Woods commercial is funny with Rory McIlroy and Colin Morikawa. When you watch it, it'll hurt your heart a little bit because for the first time, Tiger looks old, just standing, not doing something, not walking and limping and staggering around the course from all the injuries that he's suffered, but rather just his presence, the camera hitting his face. You go, Tiger's looking old. MJ, not so much, as he sits, no doubt, reveling in the fact that he's a billionaire and the fact that he bought the Charlotte Hornets for $175 million. They're now worth $1.5 billion. You know that? Most professional sports franchises tend to age very, very well. Build me a stadium, extend your middle finger. No, you're you're not losing any money. So on the one hand, I'm going to give Mike some credit here, and on the other hand, I'm just noting a few things that to me are interesting. So he'll be turning 60 years old on Friday. And of course, I remember Mike as a freshman at North Carolina. Damn it, man. Think about that. When you're a freshman in college, you're, 18-ish. He's going to be 60 this Friday.
You know, the guy who hurt me recently, just looking at, there's quite a few pop culture things. They're releasing a new, well, not a new, but a rethought out album. See how old Bono's gotten?
Oh, very, buddy. Well,
he is shrinking.
Well, he was always short.
Oh,
man,
but
he's gotten really short now. Well, that is alongside his memoir, which I read, Surrender. It's good. It's really good. But yes, the road's been tough, even for those who've made as much money as he has.
It's like when I say semis. When you say memoir, I think of John Malkovich. It is a memoir.
Yeah, it is.
I'm working on a memoir.
Yeah. So anyway, he finished that, and I read it, and it's good, very interesting. But he's looking ancient. There's no getting around that. Mike does not look ancient. Mike looks healthy, even though he hasn't been. I mean, that man will pour back bottles of red wine and several cigars in an afternoon. Hey, but more power to you, Mike. Good news is Mike's going to donate. This is really cool, actually. Mike's going to donate $10 million to Make-A-Wish on his 60th birthday. It is the largest donation ever received by the Make-A-Wish Foundation in the 43-year history of said organization.
That's all at once surprising on the historical front. You would think that somebody along, at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But it's amazing. Good job.
Yeah, good job, right? Yeah, bravo.
Yeah.
There's no, full stop. Good job. There's no caveat to that. There's nothing. Great job, Mike. And by the way, for anybody that certainly is familiar with Make-A-Wish, it's hard to argue with the work that they've done and the consistency with which they've done it and the joy that they've brought to thousands and thousands of desperately ill children. And it's awesome. It's just awesome. Jordan's hope, he says, is that the decision to celebrate his birthday by donating Make-A-Wish to Make-A-Wish in this capacity will inspire others to help fulfill the wishes for other charities as well as Make-A-Wish in who have the means to do what he's doing here, and he certainly does. That others will do the same. Mike basically, he's first supported Make-A-Wish back in the 80s. He talked about that and has granted hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of wishes for children all over the world. Now, that doesn't Make-A-Wish produce that information, not Mike, which is really, really cool.
It is. You don't hear that about Michael Jordan a lot.
Do not.
So there's another
do not
surprising nugget that he would actually fulfill these wishes. He doesn't strike me as the guy that would get on a plane and do something like that, but I'm glad to know that because there are plenty of stories of him spitting on the food that he doesn't want others to eat.
During a commercial shoot.
Right.
The cinnamon buns that he doesn't want anybody else to have. Yes. Yes, that too was written about by Wright Thompson. That is the behavior of an insane human being.
Hopefully that wasn't for a PSA for Make-A-Wish.
No. It was also a long time ago, maybe, but still it happened. It is a thing that's documented. People are complex, especially when they become as famous as Michael Jordan did and is, and as rich as he is also. It can be a weird existence, I think, not excusing it away. But what you do is you read that article and you go, my God, sir, what the hell? Petulant 11-year-old child. And then you turn around and read this story and you go, awesome. Way to go, Mike.
Well, one thing I was going to say in the previous segment, nobody has a mean streak like Michael Jordan. I don't even think Tiger had it at his peak or Kobe tried to mimic it, but it wasn't the same. Michael's was the most organic, cruel,
Want to
kind of mean
lay
streak.
waste to you. Yes.
I mean, cruel. Like that was the extra element to it. And we don't have anybody like that on this team for Florida State football. But what I would say is when Jordan beats Florida single-handedly, that takes a lot of mental toughness. Trey Benson, an early run in that game, shoves down a defender. That shows that he's got a little nasty edge to him. And there are several plays like that for Trey this year where you say, oh my goodness. Johnny Wilson will block you into the third row if you let him.
Yeah.
Micah Pittman will do the same from a smaller stature, but he'll do it. We could use a little bit more grit and toughness on the offensive line. We could stand to get there a little bit. But then on defense, Jared Verse leads the way and is one mean sucker on the defensive line, and he sets the tone. Think about the end of the Oklahoma game in the Cheez-It Bowl and all the smack he's talking to the offensive lineman who says, you're never going to the NFL. That's actually kind of an uncomfortable video clip. As the bowl is done, they don't get the snap off with 000s on the clock. Jared running after the offensive lineman and screaming him down and pointing in his face in a demonstrative way, that could have led to a fight. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point this year, you might see 15 yards both ways because of something Jared Verse started on the field.
I'm really okay with all of that.
I am too, but
I'm
this is
really
what you
okay with
need.
all of that.
This is what you need to go from one level to the next, is you've got to have competitors that are like that. Takes its form in different varieties, and we have that, but we don't have finesse players. We have a lot of tough-minded players.
So, big picture conversation about competitive spirit and crossing a line. Look, if you're a world's best at something, typically speaking, you're not well adjusted. Aren't too many people very well adjusted that are also the very best at what they do, like Mike was, like Tiger was, you name the people, right? There's a wire loose, there's something wrong with them. There almost has to be, to forego all that they turn their back on in the way of simple pleasures, solely to become the very best in the world at something, right? The countless days, hours, months, years toiling without any cameras or anybody around to become that great at a simple thing. It could be any number, a swing thought, a reverse, whatever it might be, right? When they are your teammate, you deal with the cruelty and the oddities because they're going to perform on game day, and you want to win as much as they want to win. Perhaps that's the one thing you have in common, is the wanting to win. And it is just funny because usually I find the perspective on one's greatness, especially at this level, has a lot more to do with whether they played for you, or for your favorite team, or with you. If the answer is yes to that, you love those bastards. If they didn't, something's wrong with them. They need to be exposed. They're awful human beings. Now, there are awful human beings out there who do get exposed, and then there are those that just cross the line of competitive nature.
I wouldn't say it go so far as criminality, but there's something wrong with them is, I think, objectively true in most cases, as you said in the beginning, which they're not normal. Wrong can just be not normal and not baseline. Like,
and normal's a weird word. There's probably
is.
a better way to say it too, other than that. But it's an unhealthy work ethic.
Right. Unhealthy.
Unhealthy.
To the extreme.
Yeah.
To the extreme.
Yeah.
And, one player that I'd like to talk about on the fly as his career was winding down, Steve Smith, the wide receiver.
Yeah.
Him and Delhomme together on that Panthers team, they were so punchable. They're everything about them. You're just like, ugh, these guys.
Steve wanted to fight you after every play.
He still does this when he's on the sidelines for a pregame show.
Yeah.
You saw that one clip where the throw comes close to him, the ball comes close to him when he's doing a field report.
Yeah, and
he's
mad.
threatening to fight people. But by the time he got to Baltimore and he took off a uniform of somebody in my division and goes somewhere else, like, oh, you know what? I kind of like Steve Smith.
I want him on my team.
Yeah.
He's going to go to war for
I
you.
don't know what it is. I don't think it's the change in uniforms at all, but I just appreciate him.
Well, anyhow, Mike's turning 60. I feel old. He's all-time great. Everybody knows who Michael Jordan is, one of the transcendent athletes in the history of sport, and now going to give $10 million to Make-A-Wish, which is awfully nice. Certainly we document when he doesn't do good things, such as, his entire tenure as owner of the Charlotte Hornets. What would he do if the Make-A-Wish for the young man who's desperate to meet Michael Jordan was to disown the Charlotte Hornets? Please move on. We haven't won a thing since you've been here, Mike. Thanks for coming to my bedside, but will you promise me you're going to give up ownership of the Charlotte Hornets?
I think the way to say that you're not tough enough to do that.
Or Charlotte Bobcats these days.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Keep calling them the Hornets.
No, they're back to the Hornets.
Are they back?
Yeah. Yeah. New Orleans had to release
He bought
the
the Bobcats, and
Yeah,
now they're the
yeah,
Hornets. Yeah. They're so insignificant on an annual basis that I forget.
The kid would have to say, you're not tough enough to do it. You're not tough enough to sell the team. And then he'll take it personally.
I will tell you that the last dance at times there are moments that make you uncomfortable, but there are also some awesome moments of what for. Moments where you're like, I'm okay with that. He was, speaking of player he was yelling at, a bitch and needed to be yelled at. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
There are a couple dudes that he got after that I thought, yeah, that's fine.
I know your take, and I get it. I really understand it. It's very simple, but it's very true about Phil Jackson and what a circumstance that befell him.
A
2
lovely
times in
set
his
of
career.
circumstances. Well, let's see. I'm no longer the coach of the Bulls, but I guess I'll just mosey on over and be the head coach of Kobe and Shaq with the Lakers. It'll work out.
However, after watching The Last Dance, he didn't do nothing.
No.
There was
the
a
manager
lot
of
to deal
egos
with.
is a lot.
I mean, you got Rodman at his peak, Pippen, who the more he talks, the less you like him in general, just in life.
I never liked him anyhow.
And then Jordan couldn't have been easy, and we all know that. We all knew that.
In some ways, Mike could have been easy, though. You know what you're getting from Mike every day.
Yeah.
He's showing up to work. Now, he may punch one of his teammates, and you're going to
Right.
have to deal with the aftermath, but, you know what you're getting with Mike. What you don't know is Rodman, Pippen, those guys.
And how Mike interacts with those two, because he can't do it just by himself. You need something. And so when he pissed off Scotty, and Scotty is interesting, that's just, he's probably like, this is a really great job. Wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. This day sucks.
I got to
Today
deal with
sucks.
this. I got to deal with this.
This is awful. I don't know where Dennis is. Scotty's complaining about not being in the game more. Michael's just out there yelling at dudes that are basically the pro equivalent of walk-ons and throwing basketballs at their head.
They're just rotation pieces. And Mike doesn't understand why they can't hit that shot.
He's already bloodied 2 noses out on the practice court.
Got to be tougher.
Dennis could be dead.
Which, whatever. I mean, yeah, you'd have been like, okay, we'll live.
Who's
we
going to
won,
rebound
We
for us?
won without Dennis. They won championships before Dennis got
Kukoc
there.
thinks he's God's gift.
Kukoc was underrated. You have to talk to Mike about this. Scotty didn't like Kukoc. Mike actually liked Tony. Yeah. Oh, that's fun. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Over 50 years ago, when Paul Nicholson founded Paul's Termite and Pest Control, he had one goal in mind: provide the best service possible to his neighbors so they felt like family. Your problem was his problem, so today it's our problem. Paul's service area is our home. It's where our kids go to school, where we shop, and where we get involved with community organizations. So if some out-of-town company knocks on your door and begins pressuring you to sign an agreement for termite or pest control, you can bet on a few things. Number 1, you'll never see that person again. Number 2, your technician is likely to change often. And number 3, your money will not stay in North Florida. These companies are sending your money to home offices in Atlanta, Orlando, Salt Lake City, or even Great Britain. Paul's Termite and Pest Control knows local means something to you. The health of your Tallahassee home, family, and pets is our number 1 priority. For the elimination of termites and pests and a greener lawn too, call your local company with local solutions. Paul's Termite and Pest Control.
Thank you for calling the Medicare Help Desk. How can we help you?
Can you help me choose the right coverage for myself and my wife?
We sure can. We can help you choose from Medicare supplements, Medicare Advantage, or standalone prescription drug plans from over 30 different insurance carriers.
How much does it cost? We have a fixed income and can't afford extra expenses.
At the Medicare Help Desk, the consultation is completely free. We are here to help.
Thank you, Medicare Help Desk.
Hi, this is Justin Colvin, founder of the Medicare Help Desk. In my 17 years of experience, I routinely speak to seniors who are overwhelmed by the multitude of coverage options available to them. That's why I created the Medicare Help Desk, a place for you to get clear answers to all your questions and make sense of all the confusion. I've helped thousands of clients, and I live right here in Tallahassee with my family. I am active in my church and wish to help and serve my community. If you need help navigating the Medicare landscape, I'm easy to find. Just visit the MedicareHelpDesk.com. That's the MedicareHelpDesk.com.
Now go call Seminole Glass. They'll get on the road and get it done fast.
Your local family-owned glass company, serving the Big Bend for over 15 years. At Seminole Auto Glass, we care about your safety. Insurance will send you wherever it benefits them, not the quality of service. There's a difference in auto glass companies. Trust your local auto glass experts. Seminole Auto Glass.
They handle any kind of broken glass, and you know who they are.
Better call Seminole.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
As we used to like to say, the Little John. A quality went on the road. Gene was at the game the other night when I was there. Just as a fan, he was there.
He had the face paint on.
Yeah, he's great. Hello, Gene. Thanks for listening. FSU is 8-18, 6-9 in the ACC. Clemson, however, has been sort of a Cinderella story this year after being god-awful a year ago. Perhaps they present as a possibility for next year for Florida State, a similar type turnaround. Clemson's 18-7, 10-4 in the ACC. The game is, as I said, at the Little John tonight at 7. You can find it there on good old Bally Sports Florida, televised on RSN locally, if that's your cup of tea.
Not easy to get. Okay.
Don't worry, you're not missing much. FSU taking on the role of spoiler yet again. They're looking to avenge a loss that they gave away to Clemson, 82-81, back as recently as January 28th at the TLC Double C. And I hate to admit this, but there were some terrible decisions late in that game by the coaching staff that cost them said game. That was a poorly coached team that evening.
Yeah, straight up. Straight up, they lost the game because of the management the last couple of minutes. I mean, you could talk about other things throughout the course of the game, but the way the last minute and a half went, it just, you found a way to lose it. And this is not a year where you want to invent a way to lose a basketball
No, if
game.
anything, this would be the year that you have to overcome the many deficiencies the roster that you built possesses. So it hurts. And by the way, Clemson has dropped a few lately, including an ass-kicking 91-71 to North Carolina the past Saturday there that has cost them dearly as they have slid from surely in as a mid-level seed to, I don't know if you're getting in. So we're going to get their best. We haven't played well. This adds up to an ass beating in all likelihood. The last time FSU was swept by Clemson in a season series, February of 2010. We've owned them. We lost 77-67 and then turned around and lost 53-50. Jesus. At the TLC Double C. I'm glad I don't remember that game. That's like high school. But again, I don't imagine things will go well. Look, this is it's tough. It's tough. It will be interesting to see if they fight tonight. I'm actually kind of curious to see if they fight.
Well, I go back to your conversation that you had yesterday on Seminole Headlines when you were talking about the future of it. Could he save it, his own program? And all it is right now, I would think, is about crowdsourcing and making sure that you have
The money's
funds.
necessary.
Yes. Yeah, right. It's at least about roster. Roster construction, if not about procuring another assistant, a different assistant.
Maybe
I
a
don't
few
know.
more assistants. Yeah.
Yes, whatever he's asking for, it's going to cost money. And so that's what the next 2 to 3 months has to be about for Leonard is having those conversations, but then being able to make the pitch. What was it from The Sopranos? Junior said he just couldn't sell it. Leonard's going to have to sell it. He's going to have to, because you need money to get out of this situation. There's no other way out of it.
Well, luckily, he's a man of great integrity and honesty, and his reputation precedes him. So if you have the necessary funds to have a sit-down conversation with the caliber of player that can help turn this around, or players, I don't think it'll be hard for him to just be himself and win somebody over. The money has to be there, though, right? Yes, that's the first thing. Hell, man, I don't know how much energy and time Leonard has in terms of being able to turn this around in the next 2 to 3 years, next year being pivotal. But let's just say he's all in. Feel great. Never felt better. I'm alert, sharp, ready to roll. Well, man, at that point, hell, I might invest my own money. Leonard's got plenty of it. If you're going to be here long-term and you want to be here long-term, you better have a winning season that takes this team to the tournament next year. To have a winning season next year, they got to radically alter that roster. That roster is cheeks.
Maybe the record label can invest in the NIL.
Whatever they get. I mean, that roster is cheeks. They have got to do better than what we have here in the backcourt for sure.
Ira mentioned something yesterday, and for the people on Warchant TV, they just got a spectacle.
Yeah, it was good.
Actually, 2 of them there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about tired, if tired is the right word, and Ira was pushing back on that being the word to describe Leonard, but shook is the right word. He's willing to openly admit what miscalculations he made about college basketball in general and his own mistakes, and then say, I got a big problem here. He's shook.
My point with the people that want to hear more emotion from Leonard Hamilton is when you've got a steely resolve and you've overcome as much as he has in his life, and you're aware of the problem, you're not in the dark. Not much more you're going to do but say, I'm aware of the problem, and begin to move forward. You've already done so in your head. Hour 2 forthcoming.
For the Jeff Cameron Show, live and local on Real Talk 93.3, WVFT, Gretna, Tallahassee.
The latest betting odds and line movements from Vegas. This is your action update. Now here are your latest lines from our guys in the desert.
Number 19, Miami on the road at North Carolina in ACC basketball today. The Tar Heels are the 4.5-point home favorite. 153.5 the total at the Dean Smith Center in Chapel Hill. Miami, the third choice into the ACC title at plus 450. Virginia, the favorite, minus 190. Pitt, the second choice at plus 350. In the NBA, the Orlando Magic, a 5-point dog at the Chicago Bulls, 238 the total. Atlanta Hawks laying 5 at Charlotte. The Hornets have dropped 7 straight. Chiefs win the Super Bowl, and they're 6-1 to win Super Bowl 58. The Jaguars are 28-1, Buccaneers 60-1. Sign up now for your free VSiN subscription at VSIN.com/subscribe. For more sports betting news and information, go to VSIN.com. Mike Son at Real Talk 93.3.
Hey, drop what you're doing and clear your schedules. I heard Kohl's added thousands of new markdowns to clearance. And when I went, I saved up to 70% on so much cool stuff. Like cute home essentials, jeans for my whole fam, a cozy sweater for myself, a pair of boots for my husband, and more. So yeah, don't miss out. Get to Kohl's and thank me later. Select styles up to 70% offer ends February 20th. See store or Kohls.com for details.
It's time to think about your tax refund. And Jackson Hewitt wants you to think biggest. As in, we guarantee you'll get your biggest refund or your money back plus $100. Who offers that? Come to think of it, nobody. It's one of the biggest guarantees out there and why you can't just file with anybody. For your guaranteed biggest refund, go to Jackson Hewitt today. Your wallet will thank you. When every dollar matters, it matters who does your taxes.
We understand how important it is to have transportation you can rely on. So no matter what the road ahead brings, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for over 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise.
I'm Andy Cohen with Florida Farm Bureau Insurance. Please call me at 850-671-FARM.
Hi, this is Jamie McClenny from Trek Financial in Tallahassee. Managing downside risk in your portfolio is one of the biggest challenges that you'll face in retirement. Trillions of dollars in stimulus from the Federal Reserve and D.C. politicians, combined with zero interest rates, have propped up financial markets since the financial crisis ended in 2009. The Fed recently ended quantitative easing and has started to raise interest rates at a time when the global economy was already slowing. Have you considered what another 50% correction in the stock market would do to your retirement plan? If you're concerned about where this all might be headed and would like to find out about the potential benefits of an active risk management strategy for your portfolio, give me a call at 850-900-5200 and schedule a time for a review of your portfolio from an active risk management perspective.
Make Jamie your first call for a second opinion. Investment advisory services are offered through Trek Financial, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Don't know. I'm asking all of you. Is it a day of great romance for you, or just it's Tuesday. I got to work tomorrow. Don't know what I'm going to do. For some people, it's a big to do, and I always feel bad for those folks when I see them. I can see that desperation look on that guy's face as he's racing from work and swinging past Publix in the last hour to grab those flowers and some chocolates and whatever wine that he forgot to buy a few days ago, hoping to make right a terrible oversight, racing through the aisle while I'm relaxing, thinking, I'm going to buy some Golden Grams.
Did you go shopping yesterday?
I did. I got some Golden Grams.
Yeah, that sounded like a true story. Sometimes they're absurd examples, and sometimes like, oh, that happened.
Yeah,
that
it did happen.
Happened.
Yeah, it did happen. It was great.
We had breakfast for dinner. That's it.
Oddly, so did we to some degree.
All right.
We went to Uptown Cafe. They do a little thing there, and it's I like local places, and so we went there. And my kid they're called man cakes.
Why don't you call them Johnny Cakes while you're at it?
Sure, but they're giant pancakes with bacon and sausage and beef and all the meats in the pancake. That's what Bryce got.
That's what I had last night, except it was a burrito.
There it is, with all the meats.
And that's right. He's laughing over here.
Mm-hmm.
And then sauteed onions and sauteed peppers.
There you go.
Oh, man.
There you go.
It's a good Tuesday.
I've never cared at all about Valentine's Day. Even, like no girlfriend that I've ever had was expecting much on Valentine's Day because I got out in front of it. I'm like, it's a man-made nonsense holiday. Stop it. I'm good to you year round. I don't have to be all special on this random ass day where they're just begging to steal our money.
I majored in Catholic guild for more than 12 years of education. I know guilt when I see it. And that's every commercial from January 15th on for Valentine's Day. You suck. You know what would make you better?
If you bought her a $10,000 piece of jewelry, which right now you can get for just $9,900.
That's right. Financing available.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a little. It was nice. It was relaxing. I did the one area that I did imbibe. I got after the blood orange mimosas.
Really?
Very tasty.
On a Tuesday night?
Well, I had one glass. I had one glass of a blood orange mimosa.
How big was the glass?
It was a normal size glass.
Was it like that Betty White wine glass?
That was the only bit of alcohol I had. Was that? That's all I got. A little bit of mimosa, blood orange mimosa. I like it. It's less sweet. It's got a little tart to it, which I enjoy. And then I had a sandwich. That's the big Valentine's Day. I had a sandwich. That's it.
Was it a good one?
Yeah, it was. It was a Reuben with aged and soaked sauerkraut. It was unbelievable. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Corned beef.
Never go that route. Never do that for me. Well, this is like a 4-hour tenderization process, and then you soak the sauerkraut. It's got all the. How I tell you when I eat something. Oftentimes, if I'm getting if I get a sour for a beer choice, I want to recoil. I want to be like, oh my God, it's too much. Then I have another sip. That's what I want. I want the same thing with any kind of a sandwich or a sub that I get that has any sort of, like when you pour the juices, buddy, you gotta have, you gotta have a lot of vinegar. Is all I'm saying.
No, this is not a mind in the gutter moment. I'm just reminiscing about 11, 12 years ago of an old general manager of ours who was shocked by something and just went, oh shit. There was a face, and I envisioned that's the face that you want to make when you have a sour or when you have a candy of some sort, is you want to recall, yeah.
Oh yeah, I do. I want to be like, oh my God, why would you ever? Let me try that again. That's how I kind of want to go.
Same thing
about
with peat and scotch.
Yeah, oh yeah. The smokier the better. You can't beat it. Anyhow, happy Valentine's Day belated, everybody. There you go. You guys know. You've been listening to this show over the years, and I don't give a damn about Valentine's Day. It was I was in bed by 9:40.
I think we had the same day, except for the blood orange mimosa. I think we had the exact same day.
And again, it's embarrassing, but weeknights, if you tell me, well, there's no game you have to watch tonight. There's nothing. Florida State's not playing. There's not a thing that you need to be able to have seen to talk about the next day. I'll walk past the master bedroom and I get come on in. Why don't you just come on in here? What are we doing? There's no reason for you to be out there just wasting your time watching shows you don't care about. Because I'll go down the history rabbit hole and find all these different shows, documentaries, war, or whatever it is. I'm like, oh, I'll watch that. Next thing I know, it's 11. Why? No reason. No reason for that. So now these days, that's the maturity level, guys. I'll take it to the bed.
You've arrived. Your 50s. They really are the golden decade. That's well done. I tried to stay up and watch the Lightning and
a little victory on the road.
Couldn't do it.
In a shootout.
Didn't make it out of the first period.
No, you done.
That was done.
Oh, I wake up with much to the chagrin of my wife. I wake up with the remote in my hand, TV blaring, which she says she correctly predicts is going to happen. And I always resist and say, oh, no, I got it. As soon as I start to feel sleepy, I'm turning that sucker off. I didn't even want the TV in the bedroom to begin with. Sure. But I won that argument. And then I don't want it on when we're going to bed. No, I understand. 15 minutes. I just want to check out the scores.
Does it have to be hockey? The brightest program on television?
The two sports I do watch back in the room is hockey, and then I'll watch golf. And of course, bright, lush greens, seaside. She's like, Jesus, the whole room is lit up.
It's always an overcast day. You're always watching Scottish golf too, with the white sky when the ball's in the air.
And you're like, it's too much. The reason that I'm willy-nilly talking about the frills of Valentine's Day and television viewing habits is that in a few minutes, we'll play for you the interview I did earlier this morning with Link Jarrett. It's a good interview. It's a lengthy interview. It's the better part of this hour, and it's in the build-up to opening day. Talked a little bit about last hour, and I'm really excited about this season. I know Florida State baseball's niche. I get it, but there are a lot of people that love that program and want to see this thing fun to watch again. I will say, big picture, it looks like in Major League Baseball, we documented the changes that are coming to the game. You saw the predictable pushback from the pros this week talking about, well, where do you see how many arguments and problems there are in spring training? Well, that's the time for those. Let's get them all out there. That's fine. Also, everybody's resistant to change no matter what the change is, even if it's what's best for you. Typically, people push back on change. It's just also so predictable that the players will be like, I hate it. Well, shut the hell up, man. You guys have never said anything right. Every time I hear a player speak out about whatever it is, they never get it right, ever. Just shut up.
Is Tony Clark against it? Oh, good. I'm
Good.
for it.
I'm for it.
I'm for it.
Exactly.
And I'm a player guy. How do you?
I want the players to have the money more than I want the billionaire owners to have the money. But still, every time the players speak out on any kind of a rule change or suggestion, they're all, because they want it to be collectively bargained, and then they just say ridiculous things, and they're never for advancing the cause. Look, man, check those ratings. It ain't going well. Let's go. The money's great. The money is still there. But you can't be sort of.
It's because you play 162 live events. Imagine if people watched where the money would be.
I know. Yes. I agree. So as soon as I hear them push back on it, I go, probably a good thing. Let's look more into this. Let's see what else they got here. But I bring that up. One of the things that's obvious that's about to happen, and it will trickle down, it always does, from the pros down to minor leagues, down to college baseball. They're trying to get the action back in the sport. And for those of you, and you didn't get to see this era, you know of it. But in the 80s, the hit and run and putting guys in motion and playing very aggressively was in. You think about those Cardinals teams that were on artificial turf, but they had guys that could fly, and they put them in motion, and they put pressure on defenses. The ball was in play. And so I think baseball could use an injection of the ball being put in play more often, more frequently, guys being put in motion more frequently. And I think they're trying to make that easier. They're making you come to the plate sooner. The amount of times you can throw it to first has been lessened. I mean, these new rules, obviously, you talk about the bigger bases and all of those things. This point of emphasis seems to be suggesting that, hey, get guys moving again.
Yeah, well, that was one thing that the pandemic provided, was an opportunity to be able to watch games from that era. And you know what? If you were keeping an official scorecard, as a lot of baseball fans like to do, you could lose your place in the 80s. You could lose your place. Too much information flowing too fast. Wait a minute. What happened there? Was that, okay, ground ball to second? Because there's another play. There's a stolen base. There's whatever. It would take your breath away at times watching
and
baseball
you had some
in the
guys
80s.
Ricky Henderson.
If you looked up, you'd miss it. I mean, you could walk to the fridge and then cook something from scratch and come back and you're still in the same inning. It might be the bottom half of the inning, but that's where we are right now. You could cook something that takes a half an hour, and if it's the seventh, you're probably still in the seventh because there's been 2 pitching changes and everybody steps off. It's
what you
ridiculous.
want to do in any sport is highlight especially if it's this kind of a sport, highlight the level of athleticism. Put the level of athleticism on display. The NBA does a good job with this. I mean, that's why they ended the hand checking and all that. They wanted guys to be the elite athletes that they are. They wanted you to see these guys fly. And now I could do with the NBA enforcing traveling, since it's on the books and is a real rule. And I think they're going to make an effort to do so. But the other stuff that they did in terms of guys getting in the lane, taking off, and doing breathtaking things, I mean, I watch it now on a nightly basis because of my son, and the league is really healthy. It's a great league right now with superstars all over the league.
I think, there's an argument right now about base stealing. I think this is going to be a huge base stealing year.
It looks like it. And I think that, again, you want to highlight the athleticism.
Some players and coaches and scouts think that since it didn't happen that much at the minor leagues, in terms of it didn't go crazy, it won't happen at the major league level. I think at the major league level, everything is so known before the game starts in terms of the pitcher's delivery to home, and then also the catcher's pop time, and then the distance needed to be in the proper lead with your get off as a runner on first base. It's already all quantified so precisely that if you give nearly a half a foot or about a half a foot extra space in order for something to happen, also a wider sliding window, which makes the play tougher for the middle infielder, and then only 2 disengagements for the pitcher, which now really puts the pressure on them to use a pickoff move or a step off at the right period of time. Man, this is all leaning heavily towards the base stealer, which is great.
Yeah, good. Get guys moving. Let there be action. Let there be some action. It's the second time I've kicked something over during the broadcast. Hopefully people aren't just listening to my feet. This is the curse of size 13 shoes that, you just don't know. They just start kicking things. Hey, I'm going to answer this question really quick because it's from our friend TPE. Wasn't the blood orange mimosas, wasn't it the blood orange mimosas that led to the accident of Chagrin many years ago? The one with the gesticulating that resulted in spilled drinks and broken glass. No, sir. Lest we forget, it was a much more powerful concoction that led to those wild hands and spilled broken glasses. Commonly known as the Chili's El Presidente margaritas. Damn delicious the Presidentes are. You cannot, they'll call me. I wish you hadn't mentioned them. I haven't had one in years, but now I'm thinking about it. Soon, El Presidente.
Maybe a baseball margarona. There we go.
It's just so damn good. It calls you when it hits your lips. And I was a weaker man back then, prone to bouts of hooliganism, over ingestion. I would partake always. Now I've learned the value of no, it's work day. But back then, hey, it was a bowl game in Orlando, and we were stuck in Orlando, and I had to walk across the street to the Chili's. Who didn't want to partake in the Presidente? Delicious as they are. Okay, coming up next, this is a seamless segue. Link Jarrett, head baseball coach.
The Presidente of FSU baseball.
State, joined me this morning for a long-form discussion of this year's team, which gets underway on Friday. We all look forward to it. That interview next. Stay tuned.
This is Ken Wondergem, owner of Gem Mazda of Tallahassee, serving North Florida and South Georgia for over 20 years. And I'm happy to announce that things are finally back to normal at Gem Mazda. Our lot is loaded with brand new Mazdas for the first time in 2 years. So if you've been waiting for the price and selection of new cars to return to normal, the wait is over at Gem Mazda, where we've always provided our customers with the highest quality of service and care. You know Mazda's reputation for efficient, dependable, and affordable vehicles, but you simply must experience the luxurious new lineup of 2023 Mazdas in stock now at Gem Mazda of Tallahassee. Get adventurous and connect with nature in a brand new 23 Mazda CX-50 with all-wheel drive. But hurry in while the value of your trade is still high. At Gem Mazda, we take our slogan seriously. No games, no gimmicks, just a gem of a deal. Gem Mazda of Tallahassee, Capitol Circle Northwest, just up from West Tennessee Street, and always open at gemmazda.com.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did.
Trucking accident? Call Basic Brooks Law Offices, 777-7777.
If you're hearing this right now and you or someone you know is active military, a veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, or a teacher, turn up the volume and listen to this. My friend Shannon with Legendary Home Loans has a Hometown Hero loan program designed to make a difference to those who make a difference. When it's time to buy a new home, he will waive all lender fees for all Hometown Heroes. That's a $1,600 value right out of the gate. Also, if you decide to use their preferred title company for their closing, you'll be saving another $600. That's $2,200 in discounts right off the top. That's like 20 tanks of gas in your car. And today, more than ever, it's important to save as much money as you can, wherever you can. So if you or someone you know is active military, veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, or a school teacher and looking to buy a new home, choose Shannon Young, Legendary Home Loans, and ask about their Hometown Heroes program. Call 844-FSU-LOAN or just visit FSUHomeLoans.com. That's FSUHomeLoans.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 2270146.
Let's be honest, we all have way too much stuff. Maybe your storage closet is full, your garage is full, or the guest bedroom is a mess. Call Southeast Portable Buildings, 580-6400, or visit them online at southeastportablebuildings.com.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans. A mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Welcome in, Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV, and here we go. We celebrate it every year. Always love the opportunity to head up the conversation surrounding Florida State baseball. Going into the year, opening day is Friday against James Madison, 5 p.m. The door is open. You see the man on the screen right there. He is the head baseball coach, Link Jarrett. Link, thanks again. It's great to talk to you again. I know you got to be very, very excited. I wonder, do you remember, not as a player, but perhaps your first opening day?
Not as a player?
Not as a player, just as a kid, a community, like first time. Because you know what I think, Link? If you love baseball, you'll remember this. I know you do. That first time that you walk through the gate and come down the aisle, any baseball park, the grass is so green. It's overwhelming. It's just, it captures your heart.
Well, it was here for me. And my parents still live right up the road. And we walked down here and it was a chain link fence. You just remember the bleachers. I think it was wooden bleachers, a chain link fence.
Yeah.
And like being up close to guys that were that physical when you're probably 7 or 8 years old and you're standing there and the proximity, I think it was ground level and you're basically looking at these guys, the Ledbetters and some of the guys from back in that era that were so physical and so big, and you're looking at it through that fence. That's what I remember. My first recollection of baseball was right here. Home plate's probably in the same spot essentially.
What I think is cool about that, here we are, the moments at hand, Link, and I guess describe a little bit your emotions. You got a job to do, I know, but it's got to feel a little surreal. You think about, for the folks out there listening, you were in June, leading a victory over Tennessee and Knoxville on your way to the College World Series. Fast forward, you set to coach the team that you grew up watching. You just described that. Later on, became an All-American as a player. And now you're at the helm, about to embark on your head coaching career at Florida State. That's got to be exhilarating.
It's amazing when you think about it. I walked off the field last night and I was doing an interview in the coach's locker room. I'm sitting here in the coach's locker room as a head coach, and I've rooted around this whole place. Now you're responsible for the atmosphere and the messaging of the program in this role. And I'm very excited. I really, Jeff, I want to get to the first inning of the game and get into the game. There have been so many parts of dealing with the transition for myself personally, coaching staff, and then those players have been through a lot. So you're ready for some of that to transition into competition. And that's what I'm most excited for. I'm a little ready for some of the supplemental peripheral stuff to end and go in there and have a really good first inning of baseball, get off of that field, into the dugout, and try to figure out a way to produce offensively. And then you do that over and over. And I'm really at that point in my mind of ready to relish and enjoy the competition. I think, we talk about it with the players as you get further in your career. And, Seth Maness, our graduate assistant, pitched in the World Series. So when you can finally get to the field and get to the mound, I think that's where you're actually most comfortable. and that countdown is on. We need to have 2 really good practices. We'll practice tonight under the lights. We wanted the players to just sense that really for the first time this time of year. And we do have some new lighting. The lights that shine up are supposed to provide. We got much brighter bulbs in some of those fixtures, so it should present a better ability to see the ball. So, my checklist is almost complete, and I do want to get into that first inning and Carson Montgomery, let him ratchet that thing up and go get them, and let's compete.
I'm curious, do you get more? Players play, and like you say, you get to the field, you go through your routine. They're usually habitualized, and guys get ready to play. Once they're on the field, they're doing what they've always done. Do you get more nervous as a coach than you did as a player, or do you get nervous at all anymore?
Yes, you do get nervous. I think you want to just make sure the house is in order.
Yeah.
And in my first time here, I want the game day experience to be very professional. And if somebody gets to come to one game at Hauser Stadium, I want that to be a great experience for that individual or that family. I really do. So some of the things that we've worked on all fall and all preseason leads you up to how you're going to do your timeline countdown for game 1. And Bailey and Chip have been great. Adam Ham, they have helped me so much. But ultimately, you want the experience to be A+ from the moment people enter the field until the last out of that game ends with hopefully a victory for us. So you are nervous. I think it's totally different perspective on what your concerns are. As a player, your physical capabilities and your game planning and making sure you're in tune with the competition is one thing. Obviously, pushing the right buttons as a coach and hoping, the game day experience goes properly, but then putting the guys in position to win. And when you have to push buttons or you have to make personnel moves, that you hope that you push the right buttons to give those guys ultimately the best chance to win.
Talking with Link Jarrett, head baseball coach, Florida State. For those listening on air, not watching on Warchant TV, I would encourage you to do both. It's a young team, coach. Do you like that, though? An opportunity, I guess, to instill from the start what you want them to be as ball players and student athletes?
Well, yeah, Jeff, that's an interesting concept. You don't always know whether the young player that doesn't seem to have the experience at this level, like how sometimes that's just fine. All of these guys relative to us are new. So, the canvas is somewhat clean in terms of our experience coaching them in games. So, the fact that there's a handful of names that people recognize, whether that's good or bad, I don't know. I do like the names that everybody recognizes. When you think of Ferrer and Crowell and Montgomery and Tibbs and Carry On, and obviously Colton Vincent caught essentially every game last year. Like, there are some household type names that are really good players. Then you have to mix in guys that people do not know. I did not know any of the guys other than the 4 games we played them last year. So then you put a Cam Smith in there, a Diamas Ross, McGuire Holbrook, who's one of our catchers. It's a little dinged up, but was a transfer from West Virginia. I think he will impact things as soon as he's healthy. That will be soon. Jordan Taylor, Jordan Williams. There are some guys that have really grasped what we're doing and have performed at a high level. Trayton Rank, we've moved him infield, outfield. He's an athletic kid that's had a really good back end of the preseason. So I like some of the new faces. To you are no different than the guys that have been in the program, like to me. So Cameron Smith, third base, has been a phenomenal experience. Like, he is moving to third, and most of your elite infielders in high school play more shortstop, and then some of them move, and Carry On is very savvy out there. We felt like the right thing for Carry On and the team was to stay at short. And Cam Smith, Jeff, when you see this, this is a 6'4", 225-pound, very elite talent. Now, third base is a difficult position at any level, but when you make that transition from short to third for the first time, and you're having to deal with all the bunting and how the angle of the ball coming off the bat, it's different. It is different. When I did it, the perception of seeing the pitch ball from the middle infield, you could track that thing all the way to the plate. at third base, you can see the pitcher out of the corner of your eye, but you have to be a little more engaged with the strike zone itself, able to track the ball all the way. So we've worked a lot on just the angles and the reads and the different things that are unique to third base. But I think you'll find him very exciting. And Nander DeSatis, a face that was absent for a year, he said, Coach, I please let me finish my college career at Florida State. And I was thankful we were able to get him back. And he gives us some depth and has done a nice job at second base. So I like what's going on out there. And when you mesh all this together, essentially we've seen two groups of these guys kind of going head to head. And now it's time to try to mesh that and put them in a competitive stance where they come out on top.
Something that I observed in the way you answered that question, you weren't afraid to bring up Cam Smith. Anybody following college baseball understands who this young man is excited to see him play. His potential that you just described is something that people, if you're a Florida State fan, you're kind of salivating. Big, strong kid, all world in the state of Florida. People know of him. Do you worry about the pressure that comes with that? Obviously not, because you brought it up right away about what a talent he is. How do you handle freshmen with a lot of aspirations and projections from others on them?
He's just dynamic, and you have to separate in college athletics the dynamic capabilities of a freshman from the fact that they are freshmen. So the lack of having been through this is real. The talent is real too. So finding my moments to coach him and try to bring him along and point out things that he did really well and point out things that clearly we need to improve on. There's that balancing act. Make no mistake that the talent and the potential is real. I mean, you will see it, and it will not take long to realize that. Also, we must realize, he's young and he has not been through this. So there may be some things that come up that are freshman-ish, even though the raw capabilities and the talent clearly are not. So it's that balance and massaging and finding times to push him a little bit and making him feel confident, even if he has had some mistakes that he has had to play through. So that's the managerial aspect of what we have to do with kids this age.
As you pointed out, they're all new to you, whether they're freshmen or they've been veteran players on this roster. Quick question about that, then we'll finish up with the rotation and some other questions about the arms that we haven't gotten to. I mentioned this team was young. You're right to point out the veterans. Of the 9 position players who started last season's final game, we know only 4 remain, and you named those guys. But I am curious, I guess the question would be, how long does it take for players to unlearn, for lack of a better term, and then learn a different approach, if that's something that you're applying to them? In other words, how long does it take for guys to assimilate to the way you want them to play?
Well, I think when you get through 2 to 3 weeks of fall team practice, now baseball has the unique calendar of you have the skill work segment. So you're not out there with the team. Okay. So you're with them, but you're not scrimmaging and really competing, and you're not out there for 18 to 20 hours a week. So I think once you've had 2 to 3 weeks of team practice, they start to understand what's going on. Now, it's not a complete package at that point, but I think their understanding and comfort with it, and our comfort as coaches with what they're able to handle, that's when you see it. And, at that point, you're halfway through the fall. Then you're trying to figure out what each one of those guys needs from a technical standpoint. When you get back, I noticed it at Notre Dame. I noticed it here. When you get back, there's a little bit of natural regression when those guys are gone for 4 or 5 weeks for Christmas break. So then you come back, and the recall and the transmission of data, like you hope it's efficient and they jump right back on board. But there's things they're going to do at home to prepare, but there are also things that they're probably not going to sit around the fireplace in the living room and go over the signs with their parents and grandparents like at Christmas. So there's certain things we know when we come back that we got to push the gas pedal in these areas. Physically, they're working on their swing and their arm mechanics and getting themselves in shape. So I know that's a lot of information for your question, but there is that initial, let's get it. And that better take 3 weeks. And then they start to get it. And then when you come back, quick tune up, and then you have to really be able to drive the car.
Oh, that's great, Coach. More information, not less information. That's wonderful. We're getting this team familiarized for the fans in the stands. Speaking of which, the last time you talked about this team, you mentioned that you weren't real sure how you were going to utilize everybody yet. Have you carved out roles for these guys? Let's start with the pitchers, for example. The rotation going into the weekend, what you see it as, and then also whether or not you've got carved out roles for these guys. And if not, two-pronged question. If you don't have carved out roles for everybody just yet, how long would you like that to take or before you realize, okay, this is what he is or this is how I'm going to utilize him?
Jeff, very interesting. Probably the most demanding part of what we have to do as coaches and with the pitching staff. It is the most important and the most demanding maintenance that you have. We really built 6 guys in the preseason to get that pitch count up to 75, in practice. Now, 75 in practice is a little different than when you roll out here and there's 5,000 people screaming. Those 75 pitches are a little bit different, as real as we want to make practice. I do recognize it's different. So how do you balance who is going to essentially start the game and who seems to, in weekend 1, we hope this is a 17-week deal. In weekend 1, we're looking at what gets the team out of the gate best in terms of who seems most logical to, with what we have, go open these games. And what do you have in leverage dynamic situations that allows you to escape if you need to, evade problems, and extend outings. So we really landed on Montgomery, Baumeister, and Arnold to open these games. That leaves us Crowell, who is very, very dynamic and could easily start in May. But it gives an experienced leverage arm dynamic a chance to help us escape and evade and also extend, because we built him just like we built the guys that essentially we determined would start these 3 games. Connor Whitaker's in the same mold. Fields his position, both of them, Crowell and Whitaker, really handle the run game, field their position. So when you put them in with traffic, like if they have to handle the ball, you have super athletic guys that are in the game if there is traffic. When the game starts, sometimes we may feel like we're in a jam, but there's nobody on base. So you do not have traffic unless it's self-inflicted. So the guys that start do get the opportunity to warm up how they want and enter a clean game. Those leverage guys, and I say leverage because in our game, this is something that may take place in the 4th inning, the 5th inning. It's not always the last 3 outs. Sometimes those leverage situations allow you to escape so that you do have a game to win and compete in the 9th. So we don't by nature hold somebody to just throw the 9th inning. When you look at the David Barretts, the Brennan Oxfords, we extended them, but we didn't extend them as much as the other group. Benny Barrett, big right-handed freshman, we extended him a little bit, not quite as much as Whitaker and Crowell, but he was extended. And then Dougie Kirkland is a live-armed right-hander. I mean, it's been mid-90s with a upper 80s breaking ball. Been pretty good. And then Andrew Armstrong, like left-handed, good stuff. We have to get a little more out of him. So we start to script this out, but David Barrett in Oxford being David Barrett righty with upper 80s, 90-mile-an-hour breaking ball, and Brendan Oxford, the transfer lefty from Wake Forest. We feel like in short spurts, not necessarily matchup, but we did not build them to get to 70 pitches, but they're probably capable of giving you 45 or 50 if need be. So that's how we scripted this for this weekend. I do not know, Jeff, how this plays out. Our job and our goal was to find a way to win Friday, win Saturday, win Sunday, win this series. And that clearly to us was the way to go about it, to give everybody a chance to function in a role.
I love it. Folks get a good idea of the process that you're going through as you figure out these roles that I asked about, and then also knowing that it's fluid. I'd ask you before we let you go, Coach, as we walk through the gates at Hauser and we get set for opening day. You already mentioned several of the starters, position players. I guess go through one last time, outfield, how you envision this. I know some of it's matchups always, depending on who the other team is going to start. But if you could, for the fans that are walking through the gates and they're filling out their scorecard, what does that position group look like to you?
Well, it looks like you're going to have Jaime in right field. And we've spent a lot of time. I'll just tell you this, like our stadium dimensions, you're confined in right field. And if you can have center field capabilities at Hauser Stadium in center field and left field, those are the areas that demand the most coverage. Right field is tricky, but you run out of room pretty quickly. We may go to some places where it's the other way. Like you go to NC State and left field is tight. So his ability to play right field here, but also not just be limited to right field, will help us throughout the course of a long season. Diamez Ross, if we're talking on pure center field and left-handed hitter and great base runner, he sure fits the mold in center field, and that's probably where we'll go. Jordan Taylor, Diamez is a freshman. Jordan Taylor's also a freshman, and he's had a really good preseason. Those guys can both run. And Jordan Taylor can really, when he gets underway and opens it up, he can fly. They both throw well. Jaime throws very well. Jordan Taylor gets rid of it, and it's coming out of his hand like it's shot out of a cannon, no matter where you put him in the outfield. Jordan Williams, switch hitter, junior college player, great baseball history. He could play center. He could play left or right, but probably more to left field right now. And I'll tell you, Trayton Rank has done a nice job of acclimating to the outfield. He's played some infield. We've moved him to the outfield, so he's a candidate in left field. And I think really right now you kind of have a three-way fight out there for left field. Tibbs, also a very capable outfielder, but to get another runner in the lineup, we are trying to get Tibbs comfortable at first base. Good athlete. He could probably go play center field, but when you bring that type of athlete into the infield, the mobility, kind of the range, I know first base throwing doesn't come into play a lot, but those 3-6-1s and some of those pickoffs and the things that come up, it is nice to have somebody over there that can really throw, and he can.
Yeah.
So we'll look at Tibbs. DeSatis looks to open at second base. Titan Kamaka has challenged and had a good fall as a freshman, but Nander's got that experience. He probably more than anybody, he's been through the SEC battles and clearly through the battles here. Carry-on will play shortstop. Just love his savviness, and every day I'm around him, I taste that baseball savvy and headiness that he has. It's really impressive how he navigates what's going on. And then Cam Smith at third and Colton Vincent will catch, and we do have some catching depth. One of the key pieces is out. I told you Holbrook's dinged up right now. He'll be back, but Colton again. Gosh, that guy caught about every inning last year, so you feel good. DH. Cade Bush, Gunnett Carlson, one of the other left field candidates, whether it's Rank or Jordan Williams. I kind of leave that DH to the last minute. I don't really train somebody to DH. That's just a byproduct of trying to put the best defensive team on the field and see what bat is left. And the nice thing about the DH is it gives you some interchangeable parts without affecting the defense. So how you use the DH spot really gives you a little more flexibility to bounce guys around based on what's happening throughout the course of a game.
Link, I wish you the best. Happy opening day, sir. Thanks for spending so much time with us. I know the fans appreciate it. I do as well. I wish you luck. I'll be talking to you throughout the season. Be well, good sir.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate the time.
All right, you take care.
News now.
Suwanee County Sheriff's Office arrested two parents, Justin and Sarah Fadness.
What's up, guys? Our next partner that you're going to hear from is Athletic Greens. You've heard me talk about Athletic Greens in the past. Happy to talk about them again. I take Athletic Greens every day, and I gave them a try because certainly I wanted more energy, sustained energy. I wanted to support my immune system. I don't like taking pills and vitamins per se, and I wanted something that tasted good too. And the first time I tried it, I was very surprised. It had an appreciable effect on my energy levels. And also, over time, you'll note that it helps your skin, your hair, your nails. I don't have a lot of hair, but if I did, I bet I could feel that. I bet I could tell. It's a comprehensive health habit, and it is a powerful one at that. AG1 is great for recovery. That's Athletic Greens. And I take mine basically when I wake up every morning. I don't have to worry about it because you get all the nutrients that you want. It's the best way to ensure that you're going to get all of your vitamins. It's a carbon neutral business, by the way, if that's important to you. It is to a lot of people, and that's good to know as well. I would also note that it is a comprehensive solution to what you need from a supplement routine. Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs right now with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/JCS. Helps me out, guys, if you use that. Not financially, but it lets them know that you heard this ad on my show. And I do take it, and I am vouching for them because I enjoy their product. It's athleticgreens.com/JCS. Check it out. I think you'll note the difference in your life with a simple drink each and every morning to start your day. athleticgreens.com/JCS.
The nnchiro.com because your chiropractor loves you and there's nothing you can do about it.
My man, Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the third one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, bears have their own space.
Well,
you got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears, is what you're saying?
Yes.
I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, I don't know, longevity time, a mouse.
Just a slow burn.
Slow burn.
This thing just finished the pinky. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay. Mouse it is. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Hey, Greg Tish here along with
Matty Rowe.
And you can listen to us Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Real Talk 93.3. Matt, we give away a couple things each week.
Just a few.
We got the Florida Farm Bureau Insurance Wheel of Food. We have Give Me a Second, where we play a second of a song and you guess that song. And we also play FLA or Nay. We have a lot of fun Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on
The Greg Tish Show.
Think it's enough?
We could talk about our feelings.
There's a lot.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. only on Real Talk 93.3. The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Way this Friday, 5 o'clock against James Madison. Thanks, Link, for that. We'll be checking in with him throughout the course of the season. That's good news. This the day that, oh, by the way, pitchers and catchers report around the major leagues. That's right. It is a holiday. Mets reported today. Pittsburgh Pirates reported today. Director Matthew, your Phillies report tomorrow. So it is. It has begun.
I can tell you that one thing I looked at yesterday on the interwebs was opening day and what time first pitch was. I already looked at the day. It's Thursday, March the 30th. It's opening day for baseball.
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple of 1 o'clock games. I think the Yankees and the Braves both play at 1, if I'm not mistaken. We are both in the 4 p.m. window that day.
Nice.
First pitch, 4:10.
I feel like I've gotten screwed the last few years, and we've been the team on the next day. Everybody else is playing.
Yes, to that end, you do not play on Friday.
Yeah,
but we do.
That's weird.
We get the rare 2 days in a row to start baseball season thing, which I love.
I got the email yesterday that my MLB package has once again been renewed. They were all too eager to let me know that is processed. The money has been removed from my account.
I believe you'll be putting the password on the chat here as value added to all Warchant TV members.
And so it is soon in the backdrop as I go about the fixing of dinner for the Cameron brood. You will have the sights and sounds of baseball. And that is a glorious thing. Add to it when you are able, as we have been each of the last 2 days, to open the doors, windows and the like, and the sounds of birds in your front and backyard because the weather is picture perfect to go along with the sounds of baseball on the big screen and the surround sound. Oh, forget about it, buddy. That is heaven on earth.
The Red Cardinals are back against the backdrop of the brown and dead or dormant trees.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful time. I could tell you, here's the rundown. I would think we might want to do something on Thursday, March the 30th.
I would think.
We've been places in the past.
We have.
So it's Atlanta and the Nats, whatever, at 1 o'clock.
It's baseball. I'll watch.
San Francisco at Yankee Stadium to start the season. That's weird and
Go
interesting.
Giants, yeah.
The Rays host the Tigers.
Rays reported today as well. There you go, Rays fans.
The Phillies travel to Texas for a 4:05 first pitch to play in that indoor stadium that I'm still not used to yet. I'm used to ballpark at Arlington. Still strange when they play games there. We're in Miami to take on the Marlins, and you are in Cincinnati for a sacrilegious moment. A first pitch in Cincinnati on opening day at 4:10 p.m.
Yeah, it should normally be noon.
It should be the first game.
Yeah, it should be the first game. Hopefully, we will take care of Eric Llewellyn's Cincinnati Reds. Tell them to suck it. I doubt we will. We're not very good. Not very good at all. Hard for me to look at the rotation and see the opening day pitcher and think much beyond. Let's take the under on that win total. Let's take the under. Now, you know what? I always bet the over on the Pirates. That's not a bet I make born out of strategy. That is solely based on love. And I'm willing to take listen, over-unders, team totals, that's flip of the coin based on injury luck for the most part, half the time anyhow. I've won plenty of those bets where the over-under of the Pirates is, 66 games or something like that. We win 68.
Take the under on the Mets. They're going to be overvalued this year when 3/5 of your rotation are elderly. I mean, legitimately, AARP, Social Security elderly level. You're going to have IL stints. And yeah.
Jose Quintana
That's
doesn't
one of
stay
them.
healthy for the whole year. Justin Verlander doesn't stay healthy for the whole year.
Max Scherzer
Doesn't stay healthy for the full year.
and then one of their top 5
Edwin Diaz, he'll stay healthy.
Edwin Diaz. Come on now. Don't say that.
I scared you a little bit. I can
did.
hear it. I can hear it.
I was like, we have a starter named.
No.
That's the best
Play
closer
the-
in baseball.
Play the trumpets.
And then we've got Senga from Japan, Kodai Senga, and they only pitch
Let's go
once a week.
Senga.
They're like college baseball over there. They only pitch once a week. So I feel like
Yeah.
there's some IL stints coming for the arms this year.
Speaking of IL stints, you know who else you picked up? The unlikable Tommy Pham.
Yeah, that's right. What up, fam?
The Mets are going to be even more unlikable.
He's a platooner. No big
so,
deal.
So Tommy Pham, Justin Verlander, all the guys that are fun.
What's not to love about Verlander?
You made fun of him for 3 years in a row. You have not even implied, you have directly accused him of being a steroid abuser. And now you're like, what's wrong with him?
The Astros keep winning. Nobody's stopping them. That was the legacy of your guy from the Cubs. He had the resurgence with the Cubs.
Yes, he did. Shoved it
everywhere.
For 2 years. Just 2 years.
Yeah.
One of those years happened to be a year in which the Pirates won 98 games.
Jake Arrieta.
Yes, I know. I don't say his name
forgot.
aloud.
Oh, sorry.
Cheating bastard. By the way, I will point out that while we're on all of our teams, Director Matthews Phillies, with the important addition of the multi-dimensional and very talented Josh Harrison, will put them over the top this year. I loved Josh when he was in Jay Hay when in Pittsburgh was a fun product. He was a lot of fun to watch. He plays hard. He won't cheat you. He's just not very good at baseball.
They also got Taiwan Walker, so they're going to get an awesome first half out of him, and then he's going to crumble. But
He also got Trey Turner.
the first half counts. Yeah, I know.
I was going to say they also got Trey Turner. That helped. Craig Kimbrell, stay healthy for the full year for your Phils. Make it out of camp. It's kind of fun. Soon enough, this all leads to us talking about probable. Good work out of you. Good work, Director Matthew. Thanks to all of you. We'll be back again tomorrow. Be well, everybody. Peace.